Thank you, Dave. Two bitter West Division rivals clash for the first time in 2010. Rider Nation invades McMahon Stadium as unbeaten Saskatchewan collides with 2-1 Calgary. And what a glorious night in the foothills. High sky and a light breeze, wind expected to diminish. It's the Stampeders' first Western Division showdown of the season.
Henry Burris is a leading passer in Stamps history, ahead of Doug Flutie, ahead of Jeff Garcia, but he's coming off a game in Toronto where he threw 4 interceptions, is looking for a bounce-back game here tonight. He said the best quarterback after 3 weeks in the CFL has been his opponent tonight, Darian Durant. 17-7-1 as a starter in Saskatchewan and the highest quarterback rating in the Canadian Football League.
Ken Miller's Riders 3-0. They did not lose in 4 against Calgary last year, including the Western Final. And the Stampeders have only lost 2 in a row twice since John Hufnagel took the reins 2 years ago, trying to avoid that fate here tonight after a loss last week in Toronto.
Boy, when these two teams met last year, there were fireworks in 2 of the 4 games. 44-44 overtime tie, a 1-point win by Saskatchewan. Big game tonight.
Those 2 games were both here at McMahon. We're underway off the foot of Eddie Johnson. And Dion Murphy with the return. And a good one. Eddie Johnson can't put him down, and Omar Morgan does. 50 yards on the return. So that'll set a tone for Henry Burris and the Calgary offense.
Yeah, good start and good field position for Henry Burris in his first series when you get the special teams to not only get things started, but ignite your half of the crowd here in McMahon Stadium.
And half is the operative word. Burris will have to battle the noise in his own park. Joffrey Reynolds usually makes noise against Saskatchewan. He's in the Roughrider territory to the Saskatchewan 51-yard line. Our starting lineup brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona doing it right.
One thing that the Stampeders understand is they have to get the ball to Joffrey Reynolds more than they did last week in their loss against Toronto. And if they're going to have success, Steve Middleton is going to have to control Marcus Adams in the interior of that defensive line for Saskatchewan. The 2 guards will be key for the Calgary offensive line.
Reynolds with just 44 yards in Toronto, but in all 3 regular season games last season against Saskatchewan, Reynolds registered 100-yard games.
Mentioned the 4 interceptions for Henry Burris versus the Argos. He hasn't done that as a Calgary Stampeder. Last time he did it was 2000 as a Rider.
Edmund Harrison had to come out. Rob Lazio in at center, and everybody moves one spot to the right on that offensive line for Calgary. And here's Reynolds on 2nd and short. Joffrey's off to a quick start. Luke Mullender the tackle.
Well, if it's all about Joffrey Reynolds for the Calgary Stampeders, you know what that means for the front 7 for Saskatchewan on defense. That means it's all about the middle linebacker, Baron Simpson. Can he step up and stop the run? And then in the secondary, one change. Donovan Alexander is out on that wide side corner. LaRon Mitchell draws into the lineup.
Alexander, a hamstring injury. There's LaRon Mitchell. First down. First pass of the game is a completion to Robbie Bryant, who had a couple of drops in a tough offensive game for the Stampeders 9 days ago.
Yeah, that's the one thing that John Hufnagel said immediately in my meeting with him was, what was the key to the defeat last week? He said, too many drops. He said, yes, our quarterback had some issues, but we just had too many drops. Robbie Bryant makes a nice, clean catch to get things started here tonight.
4 drops, 2 by Bryant, 4 interceptions of the game. 6 for Bryant, bunch formation wide side. 2nd and 4, Joffrey Reynolds, and Marcus Adams drags him down at the 35, be about a yard short, and Ken Miller was beaming about the play of Chunky Adams last week against Edmonton.
Yes, and deservedly so. 5 tackles and a sack for Marcus Adams in the interior, and that's really what you've got to control. If you want to run the football, and certainly Calgary does with Joffrey Reynolds, it's the interior of the defensive line and the middle linebacker that's the key. Can you push them back and create some space?
Third down, Drew Tate comes in on a 3rd and 1. And Tate pushing ahead for the first down. And a good push there behind the University of Calgary product, Tim O'Neill.
You know, in my meeting with Huffnagel, and I asked him about Joffrey Reynolds and Dave Dickinson calling the plays, and he said, yeah, we all kind of admitted afterwards, after the Toronto mistake, that, you know what, we didn't get Joffrey involved enough. And against the Saskatchewan defense, Joffrey Reynolds will be key. They will have to run the ball in 2nd and medium to long at times.
Reynolds 8 100-yard games in 15 career starts against Saskatchewan. Pass over the middle is complete there. Nick Lewis has a catch to tie Travis Gould. Wait, ball came loose, and the Roughriders do have the football. Wow. So Lewis makes a milestone catch, but coughs it up. And we'll wait to see if the Stampeders challenge the ruling on the field.
Well, the reason that Nick Lewis is signaling like this is he wants Huffnagel to throw that challenge flag, because there seemed like a real delayed reaction from the officials. It looked like they were marking the spot of Nick Lewis down by contact, and then came back and said that he fumbled on the final ruling.
And what may complicate it is he was doing the splits. I'm not sure the knee touched down as quickly as you might have expected, but the challenge flag comes out, and this will be under review.
Anything but the hand or the feet on the ground means down by contact. So if Nick Lewis is contacted here, and let's say his elbow or his arm hits the ground before the ball comes out, it doesn't necessarily have to be his knee. However, did the ball come out before any part of his body other than his hand or his feet hit the ground? And that's the question, what they'll be reviewing right now.
Sean Lucas with the initial contact, and Chris McKenzie was trying to pull it out of there.
Challenging the ruling of the field of a fumble before down with contact.
Well, Lance Fraser there. We saw some key strips last week by Saskatchewan, and they work on this in practice, and did they get it out quickly enough to cause the turnover?
I'm wondering if the ball is in his possession there, with his arm underneath it. Now, if we continue it out
as a knee hit
and stop it there, now, if you take a look at that, you can't tell if his knee's down, but you can tell that his elbow is down here. Now, is the ball outside of his possession in that case right there? That's going to be a close one to call, but again, it doesn't have to be the knee.
And again, there has to be conclusive evidence to overturn. Call on the field was a Saskatchewan fumble recovery.
Yeah, and it looked like the ball was wobbling a little bit just before the elbow touched the ground. So that's going to be what they'll have to determine. Did he lose control of it just prior to that elbow coming down to the ground? Because once you're contacted, the ground can't cause the fumble.
Big early call here, too, because the ball's down on the Saskatchewan 22. John Huffnagel's team is in scoring position. And Daryl Barron-Await says the command center takes a long, close look at this.
Not surprised. This is going to be a difficult one to rule. You couldn't see his knee from that one angle we had. You could see his arm. And did he lose possession just prior to that elbow and arm touching down?
Catch will count, and Nick Lewis moves into a tie for third on the all-time Stampeder receiving list with the catch. But if it's a turnover, it's not a milestone he'll be celebrating.
We've basically given the league every angle available. The best one was the one we slowed down a couple of times. And I'm not sure if there's enough evidence to overturn anything here, but again, that one is really close and could go either way. Mentioned that strategy from John Huffnagel, and when you talk about the involvement of Joffrey Reynolds, just while we have a second. Well, here we go.
After review, the ruling on the field stands as a fumble. The Saskatchewan ball, first down.
I think that will go in the inconclusive department.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. If that's ruled down by contact by Nick Lewis, well, then I believe that play would stand as well. Because very difficult with bodies flying around to see if the ball was coming out as he was going down, or did it come out once he touched. And obviously John Huffnagel doesn't like the ruling, but that one was that close.
Big turnover, and the Roughriders will start at their own 22. Snap show blitz. Wes Keats off the right side. And a couple of tough yards for Wes Keats, who entered week number 4 as the leading rusher in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, and that's the guy that we wanted to highlight in the starting lineup. Of course, a great set of receivers, but it's a real duel between the two running backs in Wes Keats with his 7.7-yard average. And if you're going to highlight a guard for the Calgary offensive line, well, it's got to be a guard for the Saskatchewan offensive line in the running game, and that's Chris Best in at left guard.
Second and long for Darian Durant. And a safety blitz, but that pass batted down. Jawan Simpson got a hand on it when it looked like Chris Getzlaff was open for a first down.
The blitz was picked up nicely. The blitz was coming from Wes Lysak, the safety, and picked up nicely by Wes Cates. That allowed Darian Durant to get the ball out of the pocket. Cates is right here and is going to step over and make the pickup on the blitz first. Then he does that. Now Jawan Simpson at the same time drops into that throwing lane and gets the knockdown.
So we'll see the new punter for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Eddie Johnson, the former Toronto Argonaut, called in after a tough game for Louis Sakota. Johnson's first kick to the 43 of Calgary, and Dion Murphy, another decent return. 11 yards up near midfield. Jarrell Freeman, the tackle. So the Stampeders enjoy good field position for their second possession of this game up near midfield. Once again, 5 minutes into the opening quarter. No blood drawn yet. Reynolds again off the left side. So the theme continues and a first down run.
Yeah, and he's had 29 100-yard games in his career, Joffrey Reynolds. 8 of them versus the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and that's the most of any team that he's played against. So he has had success running the ball, but most importantly, Calgary understands the importance of his involvement. Now, what it's going to mean, though, and Huffnagel said this to me yesterday, they may have to, in 2nd and 7, 2nd and 6, run the ball to him, which is something in this game you don't see very often.
Roughriders early in the year, the #1 team against the run. Reynolds again, this time tripped up quickly, and that's Brent Hawkins with the play, limiting the gain to a couple.
2009, you could see the success that Joffrey Reynolds had against the Riders. And you couple that with the fact that the only time he didn't get into double figures in carries this season was last week in the Calgary Stampeders' only loss of the year.
9 for 44 last week. 29 in the opening 6 minutes tonight. Second down. Reynolds onto the backfield. And a first down. And Lucas will guide him out at the Roughrider 30-yard line. Just the 6th catch of the season for number 21.
That time it looked like Sean Lucas got up here and he was going to show blitz, and he comes out of the backfield late and tries to pick up Joffrey Reynolds out of the backfield.
For Reynolds. First down, Calgary. Burris across the middle. There's PK Sam with the catch. And he'll be dragged down by that new corner, LaRon Mitchell. PK Sam still in the lineup. Not sure who would have come out if Kenyon Rambo would have got his initial start of 2010, but Rambo is out at least one more week.
Another opportunity for PK Sam to try and be a difference maker and try and stay on the roster, because when Rambo does come back, someone's going to get bumped. Kenyon Rambo.
10 for Sam, another first down. Play action fake. And a completion of Nick Lewis inside the 10. And the Stampeders will be first and goal.
Quick passing game so far for Henry Burris. He understands the different looks defensively he's going to get. He pulls it in there, and at the last second pulls that out, drawing the defense and buying him some time. Nick Lewis sits down, and good yardage.
Well, the Stamps said they had to hit the reset button after the game a week and a half ago. They looked sharp early. First and goal. Burris over the middle, and there's a Romby Bryant drop, and we've seen a few of those this year.
Just looks like he's fighting the football a little bit and just not letting it happen, maybe overthinking it. Again, you know, Kenyon Rambo's so close to coming back that you wonder if it messes a little bit with the psyche of these receivers trying to do too much and work too hard. I mean, that's a routine catch for Romby Bryant. No excuses there.
First incompletion for Burris. He's 5 for 6. And now it's second and goal. Gets away into the end zone, and PK Sam, touchdown! Sam with his first touchdown as a Calgary Stampeder.
He was in quite a battle in the back of the end zone. The play is made because Burris breaks a tackle and gets outside, but the battle was going on big time in the back of that end zone. Sam and Chris McKenzie. PK Sam wins it.
Jarrell Freeman missed Burris. Burris didn't miss Sam. Seven plays, 56 yards, and PK Sam with his first touchdown as a Calgary Stampeder. And for the first time in 2010, the Saskatchewan Roughriders do not score first. Here's Dominic Dorsey. Trying to get his return game going. Shrugs off a couple of would-be tackles and is up at the 35-yard line. Did the ball come loose? No. Rough Rider football when we come back. Nine minutes into the game, the Saskatchewan Roughriders have run 2 offensive plays.
Yeah, 2 and out to get things started, and the Calgary Stampeders all the momentum early.
Dressler in motion one way, Fantus to the wide side, short drop, Durant in trouble, and he'll throw it away. And a flag in the Calgary secondary.
Wasn't where Darian Durant threw the football, more down the middle. Possibly illegal contact.
Illegal contact on a receiver. Calgary, number 27. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Brandon Browner. Stampeders have not had a pass interference call against them this year. An illegal contact gives Saskatchewan their initial first down. And that wasn't at all near the play or where Durant was looking. Fake to Cates, sets up, and intended for Dressler. That ball hit the carpet. Brandon Smith was in coverage for the Stamps as we set that Calgary defense for you.
And the Calgary Stampeders have Devon Claybrooks back in the middle of that defensive line. He missed the Toronto game. It was a decision made by Huffnagel prior to the game and really didn't reflect his play. He just wanted to give him a rest. And Milton Collins will have his hands full tonight. He's got to try and contain Weston Dressler and Andy Fantus at the inside positions.
3 of the 4 meetings last year, Calgary held Durant under 300 yards. Second and 10. They send an extra man. Durant got drilled, and it's a Dwight Anderson interception. And Anderson Heads over to the Calgary bench to celebrate. And Durant shaken after a big hit.
Play made on the line of scrimmage. Big Tom Johnson, the interior of that defensive line. Watch how he knifes through here. Puts pressure on Darian Durant with a big hit there and was in his throwing lane. So Durant gets nothing on the throw. And because of that, it flutters in the air over Rob Baggs' head. And when you overthrow a receiver this level, it's going back the other way.
Man, we ain't done yet. Just getting started.
First interception of the year for Anderson, and once again, Henry Burris in the Calgary offense. Great field position. The pitch to Robbie Bryant, and he's cut down quickly by Omar Morgan. Calgary starts have been at their own 52 and 54, and now they begin this third drive at the Saskatchewan 52.
Talked to Henry Burris about his week of preparation. He said it was the best of the year by far. He said in training camp, he never hooked up deep with one of his receivers at all through camp. He said this week we had a handful of them.
You know, they've only had one 30-plus pass play so far this season. Big blitz, and Burris throwing it away, and he did make it to the line of scrimmage, so there's no flag, although the Roughriders trying to get Darryl Barron to throw one.
This is what happens occasionally with the Saskatchewan defense and their multiple looks. Occasionally, it's designed to confuse, and if you can see everybody on the line of scrimmage, that's 8. Now, which ones are coming and which ones of the 8 are not? Which are going to drop? That time, 3 came free, including Brent Hawkins, who had a couple
Intentional
sacks.
grounding. Calgary, number 1.
They do
Penalty
call
of loss of down. It's third down.
intentional grounding. It looked like that ball landed right at the line of scrimmage.
I thought it did, and in fact, it looked like it was about a half a yard over, but apparently the refs had a different thought and a different angle, and that'll cost Calgary Stampeders a punting situation. They lose the down.
And they lost 14 on the play. Burke Dales drills it and fighting the son, Dorsey. And Dominic Dorsey brought down at the 15-yard line. 51-yard boot by Burke Dales.
Let's go back and just take another look. That could cost some valuable field position. It's a pretty good kick. There's the line of scrimmage. You can see it's about the 47, 48. Looks like it might have been right on the 48. So he's in trouble here, and that ball bounces.
Clearly.
Oh, that's clearly short.
Clearly short. Out of the eye, now they scatter. Another deep start for Saskatchewan. And there's Getzlaff, who always plays well against Calgary. He is pushed out right at the first down stick. And we'll wait for the marking. Looks like he'll be just a yard short.
Saskatchewan fans will remember 89 from last year and the 1-point come-from-behind win by the Saskatchewan Roughriders here at McMahon Stadium. Chris Getzlaff with a big touchdown in that game, and really a moment that Darian Durant has said was a defining moment for him as a starter for the Riders.
Going to get a measurement. Getzlaff with the game-winning touchdown. The first meeting last year, also scored in the Western Final and in the overtime portion of the 44-44 overtime game that was also here at McMahon last year. So less than a yard away. Roughriders starts at their own 27, 35, and 15. So the field's been tilted a bit against Ken Miller's team here in the first quarter.
You know, this time last year, Ken Miller was still sort of juggling his quarterback situation. Darian Durant was a starter, but Stephen Giles in this game about the same time of year played the full second quarter here in Calgary. Darian Durant still trying to prove that he was starter material.
Well, short, no confusion, but Durant will plunge ahead and get the first down.
And then, you know, in the conversation we had yesterday with Darian Durant, talked about this time last year, he was truly trying to prove that was one of the touchdowns to get slapped, but this was the biggie. And he said when he made that play, he felt the attitude completely changed. He had solidified himself in one play as a starter in Saskatchewan, and boy, this guy has not looked back from that play.
That came with just over a minute to go, a 65-yard, electrifying, game-winning touchdown that turned the whole season around for Darian Durant.
And he built on that and led this team, of course, to the Grey Cup Championship here in Calgary, and took over the Stampeders locker room, and that's something that they haven't forgotten either.
3 for Cates on that last run, so 2nd and 7. Roughriders trying to string a couple of first downs together. Early movement, and we have flags flying. Well, Charleston Hughes looked like he was offside. Was he drawn?
He looked like he took a big jump. I didn't notice a flinch live from that offensive line.
And there wasn't.
Offside. Calgary, number 39. 5-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
You know, the Riders get a big penalty there in that, yes, it was just 5 yards, but 2nd 2, such a much more workable situation. They need a play to flop the field, let alone get points, just to get out of this hole, because the field has been lopsided so far.
Team that's made a lot of big plays so far this season lead the league in big plays, and they got a first down here. Roughriders with the catch. Brought down by Miguel Robide.
Roughriders recognizes what Darian Durant does, and that's that the Calgary Stampeders had their linebackers up in the line and then dropped not just their linebackers, but a couple of D linemen back into coverage. And that's a matchup they'll take every time.
So 15 for Roughriders. Furthest up the field, the Roughriders have been. 1st and 10. 4-man rush. Durant hit again. Andy Bantus Collins there to knock it away.
I really thought that this would be a matchup, Chris, that could really make a difference between who wins and loses this game, and that's the inside receivers in Weston Dressler and Andy Bantus up against number 14 Milton Collins. And this time Bantus tries to work him inside down that hash mark and go back to the corner route. Pretty good timing and confidence to stay underneath that one, because if Collins misses that football, Bantus not only makes the catch, but he scores.
And if the game continues as it has been in the first quarter, Darian Durant's going to have nightmares about Tom Johnson, who laid another vicious shot on him. 2nd and 10, trying to get Dressler off one hand and incomplete. So the Roughriders offense not firing on all cylinders yet.
No safety in the middle, though, so that's where Darian Durant wants to take the football. And he's going to go right down the middle. A little more air under that ball may have given Weston Dressler a chance. He had pretty good position on Brandon Smith. That ball on a rope and just out of his reach.
Mentioned Eddie Johnson, called in after Louis Sakota had a 26.6-yard average last week against Edmonton. Ian Murphy back at his 12. And a flag down as Mike McCullough make sure Murphy doesn't get too far. And for the first time tonight, looks like Calgary's going to get backed up.
If that's the case, mission accomplished for that Saskatchewan offensive series to get the field position changed.
On the return, holding, Calgary, number 25. Penalty be half the distance to the goal, and 1st down.
Keon Raymond called on the hold.
Well, you'll see a good look at it just to the right of your screen there. He's working on James Patrick, the safety, and you can see he grabs the shoulder pads and twists them around. That'll be called every time. So a couple of first downs and then a big kick, and the field position flops in favor of Saskatchewan.
And now the visiting fans make some noise. driving for at least 5 and maybe 6 before he's driven back.
I walked over to Baron Simpson yesterday as they were going through the walkthrough, and he saw me coming. I said that, you know, he had a little bit of a turf toe, missed a lot of the practice this week, and with all the talk about Joffrey Reynolds and what they didn't do with Reynolds last week in Toronto, I asked Simpson, well, what do you think the key to this game is? And he quickly told me Joffrey Reynolds.
Barron digs in, 2nd and 4. And we see Joffrey again.
And
we see Barron Simpson, the Minister of Defense, with his biggest play of the opening quarter that comes to a close with Calgary up 7-0. Tim Hortons, proud sponsor of the CFL.
Well, it was a dominant quarter for the Calgary Stampeders, the 104 net yards, but the Saskatchewan Roughriders weathered the storm on the scoreboard, even though they didn't have the field position advantage at all.
John Hupnick was asked about field position yesterday. It always is a factor in a football game, and clearly Calgary enjoyed the edge in the first quarter, but as we start the second, the field gets flipped here.
Well, that's right. When Darian Durant puts a couple of first downs together, they get a big kick from Eddie Johnson, and then the penalty by Calgary Stampeders. Now that real estate has completely changed locations, and now it's advantage Saskatchewan as we start the second quarter because of a big tackle by Baron Simpson. They should get very good field position here, and now we'll see if the Calgary defense can respond.
And with that, you wonder if Calgary will concede 2. They don't. Burke Dales will fire away, and a good one with a breeze at his back, and Dorsey with his best return, but flags are flying all over the field. We've got 3 different flags as Dorsey took it across midfield to the Calgary 51.
And I know there's times that fans get a little frustrated with some of the penalties, especially on the special teams, but fairness to some of the officials and the refs, these players got to stop holding.
On the return, illegal block. Calgary, number 26. 10-yard penalty, and it'll be a first down.
That was Kitwana Jones. Let's check in with Jermaine Franklin.
Thanks, guys. Well, Rider Nation is crazy, as you know. They'll follow their team wherever they'll go. Wes Cates started his CFL career with the Calgary Stampeders, and he said he didn't know how to react. His very first home game against the Riders here at McMahon Stadium, when he first came out of the dressing room, he wasn't sure if it was a home game at all. And the proof is always in the pudding. The Riders have had 4 games, both home and away, and this is the 4th straight packed stadium.
There's a full house. Here's Weston Gressler taking it out of the flat and across the 45 for a first down.
Yeah, and I would guess it's right around 50-50. It really, as it was filling in, and we were here a couple of hours prior to game time, you could see just all the green sweaters, and it's not like it's hard to distinguish who's cheering for who when you take a look at the crowd. Henry Burrs calls it like the Christmas game. A lot of red and green all mixed together. A sellout, and they're both.
First down. Durant can't find anybody. Now Rob Bag across the middle. Collins just got enough of him to knock him off stride. Bag to the Calgary 40-yard line.
What a money throw from Darian Durant, who's been under duress a little bit in this game, and this time he's again having to move around by himself some time. That Calgary D-line starting to break through a little bit, did in that first quarter, but when he backed up a little, he still put it right on the money to Rob Bag.
Rob Bag goes to the sidelines. 25-yard gain. First down just inside the Stamp 40. And Cates is dropped right at the 40-yard line. Even lost 1. Well, it was actually Rider Day at the Calgary Vipers baseball game.
Yeah.
Want to make sure they give the Saskatchewan visiting fans somewhere to go before the game. Jim Hobson, the president, got to throw at the first pitch.
Striker ball, strike.
Gainer calls it a strike.
That's a home call, I think. But, you know, the baseball diamond right next door, and it's interesting. We're sitting here in Calgary, and it's Rider Day at the baseball diamond.
Flag down. Andy Van Too's got it inside the 5. Milton Collins was there. Let's find out what the flag is back in the secondary. And I think this one's coming back.
Well, yeah,
We're back in the backfield.
The backfield, that O-line area. Yep.
Saskatchewan, number 57. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
Well, Mark Parento's literally had his hands full here in the first half.
Mark Parento playing right guard on the play. Right in here. And watch how he, now as he gets a little penetration, he's got to try and contain Tom Johnson. Tries to almost tackle him, and Johnson's been a bit of a force here.
Oh, is he ever. 77 is denting the front so far tonight. Second and 21. Better protection. And the ball is caught. Did he get a foot down? Let's see. Appreciate Rodriguez. And they're going to mark a catch at the 16-yard line. Wow.
One I'm sure the Calgary coaching staff wants to see another look at, because it looked like he double clutched it out there. Appreciate Rodriguez. Didn't catch it clean the first time. Darian Moran has no problem with this matchup on Brandon Browner. Even in that press coverage we see quite often. Ball up in the air, he's got control. Can't see his foot there, but that looked like he got it in.
Left foot in, and that's why they call him big play, 34 yards, and that qualifies under CFL definition as a big play over 30 yards passing. Wes Cates skips across, and now kicks outside to the 5. Cates to the goal line, touchdown. The former Stamp, 16 yards to the end zone. And the Roughriders a point away from tying the game.
There's the acceleration that Wes Cates lost a year ago due to injury early in the season that he's got back, because he almost goes from a dead stop at the line of scrimmage, and when he bounces it to the outside, he outruns Juwan Simpson's angle and shows that great acceleration.
Third touchdown of the year for the man who was Joffrey Reynolds' understudy here in Calgary before claiming the starting job in Saskatchewan. Tie game early, second quarter.
Here to make amends, Mark Parento, who's going to step out on Tom Johnson this time and just run him to the inside. Just enough of a crease for Wes Cates to bounce outside the corner on Juwan Simpson. So Mark Parento got the holding penalty, comes back with a big block to spring his running back.
No, we stay. So, we scoop the 30.
Dion Murphy. Return out at the Calgary bench at the Stampeder 44-yard line. The Rough Rider touchdown drive, 6 plays, 76 yards.
That penetration there, and you can see how Brandon Browner on the edge there, just to the right of your screen, he got in trouble trying to get contained. Dwight Anderson just can't control the load.
Rod Begg with a big catch. Appreciate Rodriguez as well on that touchdown drive. And now the Stamps start at their 44. First long out. Robbie Bryant down there as they test the newcomer on the corner, LaRon Mitchell.
I asked Ken Miller if he had some concerns putting the newcomer out to the wide side and whether or not he thought that he might get picked on out there, and Ken Miller said absolutely not. He was very comfortable with LaRon Mitchell. Not that Donovan Alexander is playing poorly. He had his early struggles but had a hamstring, and he thinks that he's earned his way back into the lineup as well because of his play on special teams.
Second and 1 after a 9-yard pickup by Bryant. And here's Joffrey Reynolds. And Reynolds to midfield has a first down.
I really like this matchup going on right now. Barron Simpson was in on that tackle. I think Reynolds may have first down territory, but the middle linebacker and the running back just squaring up again as Barron Simpson, he's going to just come across from that middle. And all he's doing is spy 21. He's going to shoot the gap and right there to make the tackle. He's the guy who created good field position, and that result was a 7-point tying score for Saskatchewan.
10-year vet, 6-time all CFL middle linebacker. First down. Burris guns it back to Bryant, but he misses. And Bryant trying to get inside. Lance Frazier there. And Bryant steps up at the Roughrider 41. Another Stamp first down.
And if you're having some problems with the ball and you're fighting it a little bit as a receiver, what do? You just keep working. You keep working at it, working at it, working at it. That time, nice fundamentals from Robbie Bryant to use both hands, look through that window, concentrate, no look downfield, wait till you've secured the ball, and then put it on the outside so it can't be knocked out of there.
Bryant with the only 100-yard game by a Calgary receiver that came in the home opener against Toronto. A lot of steamboats, and Burris looking for PK Sam, and a flag flies as Lance Frazier interferes with the big target. 6'4", 220-pound PK Sam.
No question here. Lance Frazier jumps on the back of PK Sam, and he hitches a ride and gets caught because
Pass interference. Saskatchewan, number 15. Automatic first down.
that's the top of the route at the end of the play, but Lance Frazier had grabbed on at about 10 yards previous, and you can see the right hand there. He just took a ride on the back of number 2, and he got caught.
31-yard penalty, the 4th PI against the Saskatchewan defense this season. First and goal from the 10. Burris looks for Bryant, and it's picked off. James Patrick in the end zone, and he's going to come out. James Patrick, who had 2 interceptions in the Western Final on Burris, has done it again.
Picks up the interception in the end zone because of that communication error.
7th interception thrown by Burris, 4 in the last game against Toronto. And some early movement. Afterwards, Calgary talking about assignment breakdowns and miscommunication last week, and we saw a continuation of that on that play.
John Hufnagel not happy on the sideline. Obviously, when both the receiver and quarterback came back, they got an earful.
Procedure, Saskatchewan, number 66. 5-yard penalty remains first down.
That's the left guard, Chris Best. So it'll be 1st and 15. Quarterback drop. Broke a tackle and another. And up to the 20-yard line.
Let's go back to that interception quickly and just show you the communication issue that Robbie Bryant had with Henry Burris. He's right in here, and his route is supposed to be corner route, or at least that's what Burris thinks, and he ends up going straight up the field. When you go ahead and run this and watch Robbie Bryant, Henry Burris is thinking straight corner route, go over to the far corner of the end zone. You see Bryant break it off, go down the middle, and because of that communication error, right there, James Patrick has the interception. Saskatchewan has the ball.
2nd interception of the year for the Roughriders. A 10-yard pickup for Durant. 2nd and 5. Quick hitter, Dressler, and he gets smoked. Brandon Smith drilling Dressler, but the resilient Saskatchewan receiver has 6 and a big first down.
John Hufnagel after that interception. And as you mentioned, Chris, 4 from Henry Burris a week ago. And this was the earful that both Robbie Bryant and Henry Burris got after that throw and interception by James Patrick.
First down. Here comes pressure. Durant, complete to Fantuz. Andy Fantuz with another first down up at the 38.
Now they say even every coach, whether it's professional or amateur level, it's okay to get on your team every now and then, but then you got to go back and you got to say, okay, guys, don't worry. Everything's fine. Calm down. You really want to sandwich your criticism with 2 positive points, one at the beginning and one at the end. That's what they say to the amateur coaches, but it's in effect here at the pro level.
He had one practice last week where he let the offense have it for some Poor execution. Place zone read fake, and now Rodriguez trying to make a man miss and runs out of room and steps out just a couple of yards beyond the coverage of Brandon Browner.
And just like that, though, Darian Durant with a first down from Dressler, who just got a yard across that marker, and then Durant's close here. He's got a second and medium situation. He's got field position even if he has to punt. So communication error by Calgary takes points off the board. Patrick gets the ball, and now even with a punt, Saskatchewan has a huge win here.
See what they do on 2nd and 4 from the 45. Three-man rush, open receiver, good catch, gets lap, first down.
That was a good catch for a couple reasons. One, it was high and put to the inside shoulder, so Getzlaf had to turn his body sideways and then reach up and get it. Durant knows it. You could tell by the reaction from Darian Durant, but Getzlaf has to go back. And then the other thing that made this a tougher catch than it had to be was the sun coming right off that corner and right in his eyes.
First down, just beyond midfield into Calgary territory. Cates. And Wes Cates burrows for 7. And this offense is starting to perk after a slow start.
You know, when you make a mistake in hockey in the offensive zone and they call it a bad penalty or a bad mistake because it usually ends up in a goal. Bad interception is when you're down in the red zone and you throw that pick, and now the Saskatchewan Roughriders on the move.
2nd and 3. Cates again. First down. Crashing down at the 40-yard line, the newcomer Robert McCune, who will be inserted at times into the Calgary defense, makes the tackle.
Well, they're real excited to see what he could do. Here's a former member of the U.S. Army. He served in South Korea, Kuwait, and Afghanistan. Drove the huge fuel trucks for the armed forces there.
And needs no introduction for the Saskatchewan quarterback. He played against Darian Durant in college. Durant's got the moving. Cates again. Got to kick it outside. Juwan Simpson in pursuit. Takes him out after a pickup of 4.
This guy is an athlete that they are very excited about in Robert McCune. He's 6 foot 236, and he's a sprinter, but he is as strong as they get. He throws 405 on the bench around like it was nothing, and they call him the hammer.
Yeah, that's a giveaway that he brings the helmet.
Not very often you're a weightlifter and a sprinter.
Wes Cates has 38 on the ground. Joffrey Reynolds has 38 on the ground. Durant looked for Dressler, a little behind the intended target, and the drive stalls.
But a good one on the road. And a good one for Darian Durant to get out of the hole. Got the turnover from his defensive secondary. Doug Barry's offense puts some drive together, gets into field goal range. And when you're on the road, that is a real successful drive. Can't get touchdowns every time.
He wanted one that time, though, as you could see. Not happy going to the sidelines. Look at Congio, come on. Good start to his season, 7 for 8, including a 54-yarder last week, this from 43. And Conchi off the upright dead ball. Seen a few of those. And it remains tied at 7. Used to climb the fence to get in as a youngster. Stamps might send him a bill for that. Their kids and grandchildren, Stamps fans. Oldest daughter, Shannon, was a Miss Stampeder back in '73. Henry Burrows to work as they start at the 25 of John Cornish. All the way up to the 45-yard line. James Patrick submarines him after a pickup at 20.
A lot of people wondering what happened with John Cornish in the plan. Number 9 in the backfield there. Because coming out of training camp, John Hufnagel, Dave Dickinson, both talking about how impressed they were with John Cornish, how good of shape he was in. And Cornish was going to be involved a lot more than he has been so far.
3-minute warning given to the benches. First half at McMahon.
in the West Division last year. They met in the West Final. Saskatchewan won that one, and not a lot of points on the board right now, and there's got to be concern with the Calgary Stampeders as they're coming home. And Henry Burris, you had to go back 10 years to the last time he threw 4 interceptions. I asked you what the week is like getting ready for the next game. You said, can't wait to get at it. Now he's throwing 2 picks in the end zone, and obviously leaving some points on the board there, on the field, I should say. So you wanted to diagnose exactly what happened in that first one, because we were all going, what happened there?
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, Robbie Bryant's going to take a lot of heat in film study. When they go and look at the video from this game, he's the guy the coach is probably going to focus on in terms of assessing blame. But I want to put you in the mind of the receiver here and have you understand just how challenging it was for Robbie in the situation with the play that he was being asked to do. This is a rollout play, and Robbie Bryant's being asked to run right up here through this area here. Now, he's got the post corner pattern, and when you're running the post corner with a rollout, you know the safety is going to be working over the top. Robbie has got to give himself room because the ball is going to be coming out in this area. He's got to give himself room so that Burris can get the ball into him. Watch what happens off the line of scrimmage. He gets widened because of the halfback. Now he's in this situation. There is no way that he can possibly have Burris complete this pass to him with this little field to work with, because of how he got widened off the ball. What he should have done here is probably been patient, moved up the field, and given Burris a place to throw the football. Instead, what he does is simply turns up the field. This is not what Burris is expecting. Burris, at this point, probably should have realized this play is not happening. This is the second he sees Bryant right here turn up, he should probably just abandon it and throw the ball away. But he's expecting his receiver to get to the corner because that's what the playbook tells the receiver to do. But as soon as Robbie got widened off the ball, the play was over because he couldn't give his quarterback enough room. I know you've been there. I've been there many times. It's an awful situation to be in.
As an offensive coordinator, as a head coach, as a quarterback, just run the play. You know, just run the route. You know, the quarterback was going to throw him open and just quit thinking. Just run the route. That's what he needed to do there. Henry Burris, you know, the ball was out of his hand by the time Robbie decided to change his mind and cut upfield. I understand the rollout, and you're limited, but Henry had a small window. He was trying to fit it in there. But it was Henry's choice to throw the second pick to Patrick, which was a foolish one, in my opinion, because he took points off the board. You heard Glenn talk about it. This was a throw just simply loving PK Sam and his height and trying to give him a chance to make a play, but it was an errant throw, and it took points off the board. Henry Burris is not playing good football, and Schultz, the way to play good football and get this offense back on track is to continue to involve Joffrey Reynolds. In the first quarter, we saw him have success. Second quarter, he was non-existent.
Nothing against John Cornish, but I don't think John Cornish is at the level of a Joffrey Reynolds. And I, too, am surprised that Joffrey Reynolds is not a bigger part of the game. For the Riders, I think in the first quarter, it was about inability to protect Darian Durant. And they got lucky because Darian could have gotten hurt on a couple of those shots that they take. Right there, Tom Johnson, watch this, bang, right under the chin, lifts him off and put him down. Now, in the second, I thought it was all about Wes Cates. And you young running backs, watch this. Ball security right before the impact that he anticipates. And then also, he finishes the run all the way down. That was unique. Watch out for number 21, Hugh Charles. He'll come in the third or the fourth quarter. He's the best change of pace running back in the Canadian Football League. Number 21, Hugh Charles.
Don't forget about Thigpen.
Well, Thigpen.
He's pretty good, too.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Talking about Robbie Bryant, no offense to Robbie Bryant, the PK Sam's world, but it was a year ago today that Kenyon Rambo got hurt in Vancouver, and he's still not on the field.
Still waiting for him.
He was in Vancouver, and anyway, the league misses him, and so do the Stamps. It's 7-7. Welcome back. Here are your halftime numbers, brought to you by Tim Hortons, proud sponsor of the CFL. Jocko.
David.
Yes.
There's a problem here, and that is interceptions. Interceptions, 1 for Saskatchewan, 2 for Calgary. How aggressive will these quarterbacks be in the second half, knowing that they're ball hawking in the secondary on the other side of the field?
John Hufnagel just spoke with our Jermaine Franklin.
Coach Hufnagel, your offense has shown success when going to the run. Are we going to see a little bit more of Joffrey Reynolds in the second half?
We should. We're staying on the field. We will get him the football, get first downs, and stop turning the ball over when we get close.
That's the next question. What is the key to your offense not turning the ball over, especially when in field goal range?
Just be careful with it and take care of it.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Sounds pretty simple. Indeed. Be careful with it. Take care. But hey, Rider fans, if you're watching across the province of Saskatchewan, I want to let you know that Hall of Fame weekend is always very special. The Hall of Fame game this year is BC at Regina, taking on your Riders, because for the first time ever, the Hall of Fame induction ceremony will be held in Saskatchewan. The ceremonies are being split between Saskatoon and Regina. The class includes Alfred Payton, Tracy Ham, Bob Cameron, and Don Narcisse, one of the greatest receivers in our Rider history. So get your tickets, contact the Rider office. Kate Burness is here with a Sports Center update.
As we head to the second half between the Roughriders and the Stampeders, before we get back to action, let's join Jermaine Franklin and Coach Ken Miller.
Coach Miller, can you talk about the great timing of your defense coming up with big turnovers to eliminate the possibility of a field goal for the Stamps 3 times?
Well, I'll tell you, our secondary is playing very, very well. I'm really proud of them. It's a long game. We have to continue to put that pressure on. They have to continue to make big plays.
Can you talk about the performance of your offense, especially considering the tough field position they've been dealing with in the first half?
Well, we've had awful field position. I think we were at the 15 twice and the 5, but we just need to be more consistent. Make sure we don't give the football away. We're going to be fine. We'll play hard.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.
Defenses have been stingy so far tonight. And the two quarterbacks have been under duress.
The one characteristic about this Saskatchewan team that we all understand is that they will play until the very last snap. In Calgary, match that intensity in the fourth quarter.
University of Guelph product, Rob Maverd. Gets set to kick off the second half. Dorsey and Hugh Charles are deep, and here again, Dominic Dorsey. And Dorsey up to the 35-yard line. Still hasn't been able to break a big one yet this year. Let's compare the quarterback's numbers through 30 minutes of football.
A lot to digest in that first half. Darian Durant had bad field position throughout the first quarter, and Henry Burrs got a touchdown because of it. Then a couple of first downs late, moving into the second, got Darian Durant on the board with some field position, and he capitalized with a touchdown. So when you compare the numbers, it's close, but the two interceptions by Henry Burrs jumps out at you.
Durant's offense came into the game leading or tied in 15 of 35 CFL offensive categories. And Wes Cates gets things rolling with a good run. About 9 for Cates.
Can't emphasize enough that the Saskatchewan Roughriders with Wes Cates back in form is so much more dangerous. We've talked many times about the receivers and how quick they are and how explosive they can become, but that balance from Wes Cates is crucial, and this is a second half team.
Curious about the second and less than a yard play, because the short yardage team started out and then came back. Do they have a little bit more or not? No, and they're going to lose yards.
Darian Durant hates the idea, and I think he wanted the other formation, because his reaction after the handoff was, this is not the play call or the personnel that I wanted out there.
Yeah, Claremont and Sarka were headed out, went back to the bench, and I wondered if they were going to try something deep on second and short.
I believe it was Tom Johnson again with penetration. No, this time it was Devon Claybrooks.
And so second and less than a yard turns into third and long, and Eddie Johnson just got it away. Robert McCune almost had a punt block in his first CFL game. And Dion Murphy gets drilled out by Neil Hughes.
To watch.
Is he ever? I didn't think that was going to be a battle for first in week 5. Dr. Reynolds back in, short gain there as he's dragged down.
Well, we talked at length. That's been the game plan, and coming in, that was the game plan. They abandoned it a little in the second. And when I say they, I say the coaching staff for the Stampeders. Dr. Reynolds, he had 9 carries in the loss last week, 44 yards. And he gets some double figures, and he gets to 100. The Calgary Stampeders often win, but he was kind of abandoned that second quarter.
3 for Reynolds, second and 7. James Patrick showing blitz. Reynolds going, or Burris going deep. Robbie Bryant in behind coverage. Touchdown. Joffrey Reynolds, or Robbie Bryant got in behind Omar Morgan. And it's the biggest Calgary play of the season, 67 yards.
Well, for a quarterback and his receivers who desperately needed something to find some confidence, this is the something they were looking for. You could see the hesitation that Henry Burris really didn't even want to throw it at first, and then because Robbie Bryant was so far behind of Omar Morgan, he said, I'm going to give it a shot. That should boost the confidence of this offense.
Just like that, Maver adds the extra point. Bryant over 100 yards over the goal line for a big Calgary touchdown.
Well, it should give Henry Burris confidence. James Patrick right here in the middle of your screen. Now, Robbie Bryant knows there's no safety, so he's going to go and take that middle. So, Henry Burris now, the guy who's giving him problems has been James Patrick, the safety. 2 interceptions in the first half with the safety up in the line of scrimmage. He says, all right, I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of that with one right down the post.
Third touchdown of the year for Robbie Bryant. Again, the biggest pass play of the season for the Calgary Stampeders. 67 yards. This will be Hugh Charles. And Charles with a return up to the 38-yard line. McCune and McCartney on the tackle.
The other thing about the play was that Henry Burris steps up and puts it over the top of a chasing and scrambling Omar Morgan. That's underthrown at all, and this is a quarterback, remember, who overthrew a target because of early interception, so I believe that that one is giving Henry Burris some confidence.
And you ran down on that kickoff.
Stamps were wary of big plays from Saskatchewan.
Wow.
They make the biggest one of the day so far. Now Dressler first down, and Noel Collins will push him out across midfield and down to the Calgary 53. 19 for Weston Dressler.
You know, the last time Saskatchewan was at McMahon Stadium was for the Grey Cup Championship, and Weston Dressler was not in that game. He talked about that disappointment, how he has come all the way back from his injuries from a year ago. He looks faster.
6 catches tonight, 70 for Dressler. First down, Roughriders. Double tight end, play action. Durant wants to go deep. He's got Fantus. Andy Fantus, and he's dropped at the 15. This time hangs on. So Durant trying to answer right back.
And what he does is he recognizes again that no West Lysak, Andy Fantus, good patience on the route. Don't try and get to the middle too quick, you'll give it away. So he makes his move, and then Darian Durant throws him open, throws him to the outside and across that middle so Fantus can go get it and run away from Milton Collins.
37 for Fantus, that matches his season longest. Into the hands of Cates, a flag down off the left side for short yardage. Malik Jackson in to disrupt things.
Take it in.
And it's a procedure call against Saskatchewan.
Clearly both teams have tried to shore up some protection. In the first half, Darian Durant was hit hard about 8 times. But he had lots of time to throw that deep one to Andy Fantus.
Illegal formation. Saskatchewan, no end. Penalties declined. Second down.
So 1-yard gain. The Roughriders riding the Canadian Air Force. These are Canadian receiving yards on the year. Over 2,500 last year and 127 in the game tonight that are not on the totals you just saw. 2nd and 9. Here comes the heat. Rodriguez curled back and is dropped at the 10-yard line. And Rodriguez will be short of the first down. Just a 5-yard gain. It'll be 3rd and 4. And Ken Miller's at least thinking about it. And now the field goal team comes on.
And quick decisions, though. And appreciate Rodriguez there. He tries to make a bigger play than he had to because he caught that football about a yard away from first down territory. Now, if he just stops and dives forward, he probably gets it. But in fairness to him, he wants to come back and secure the catch first.
Conji had one off the upright earlier. We've seen at least 3 of those this year. Damon Duvall, Sandro DeAngelis. Now a shorter one that is put through. And now it's a 4-point Calgary lead. 5 minutes into the 3rd quarter. Calgary up 14-10.
And the tension builds.
Eddie Johnson to kick off. Had 1 game in Toronto last year, the season opener. Dislocated his shoulder on the opening kickoff when he had to make the tackle. Finished the game and lost his job to Justin Medlock. There's Murphy. He's had a good night. Ran out of real estate there. Mike McCullough was waiting for him at the 29.
Reverse gets out of a funk in the first half with some bad decisions. A nice throw to Robbie Bryant to break things open. Now, what I want to see here now is the Saskatchewan secondary. Do they start backing up after deep play? Do those corners like Omar Morgan give the receivers a little more room and create a little space for those intermediate and shorter routes? Or do they have a short memory and move on? There you go.
PK Sam brought down at the close to the 35. Call it 6.
It's like such a psychological game when you see Omar Morgan now. He saw his buddy right at the top, and the last play, Omar Morgan looking to back up on the snap of that ball. So what do? They just do a little quick curl in front of him. That's all the result of the play before.
2nd and 4. And that's complete. There's the speedster Dion Murphy up to the 50-yard line and a first down. 7th catch of the year for number 24.
Boy, you just tell by the throwing action, the decisions, and just the way he's walking that Henry Burris feels better about himself all of a sudden.
Speaking of short memories, I guess you have to, as a CFL veteran quarterback who's thrown 130 of them in his career.
Yeah.
There's the hitch. They put it back in the hands of Murphy. And the ball popped out, but out of bounds. And he's close to another first down. Came into the game 3rd in all-purpose yards in the CFL.
You know, but this defense, and more specifically this entire team for Saskatchewan, it doesn't seem to be, bothered at all by whether or not they're down in the score. Could be 3 touchdowns, no big deal. Could be a drive going, no big deal. They're just waiting for their opportunity to make a play.
There's John Cornish, and Cornish with a first down run as they continue to spell Joffrey Reynolds at times, and a productive first down run by John Cornish.
Big hole created on that right side for the Calgary Stampeders. You can see the stacked formation defensively from Saskatchewan, and they're going to attack and run Calgary right outside of that stacked formation. If you catch them in it, you can get a big play.
Down to the 38. Going to the wide side, PK Sam, another catch. And he will step out at the 25, and the Stampeder offense is rolling.
Boy, one big play really loosens up the secondary. We've seen hitch, we've seen quick curls, we've seen that quick out to PK Sam. And when you give up one play for a touchdown, that much yardage like Robbie Bryant, it's just human nature to take a step backwards, and that's what the secondary has done in this drive.
First down. And a keeper for Burris. First time we've seen that. It's a first down. Bumped out by Omar Morgan, and Henry Burris is fired up and feeling it here in the second half.
Yeah, he is, and it was that one throw that got him going. And this is a perfect zone read play, and Henry Burris, one of the best at it, as he's going to put it in the stomach of John Cornish right there. Take a look at that defensive end, see if he moves. If he moves inside, then he takes it to the corner.
11 yards on the first run of the game for the Calgary quarterback, and they are marching. First and 10 from the 14. Fake to Cornish, and then he pops it to intended for R.J. Franklin. And that is the first incompletion of the second half for Henry Burris.
Trying to get the call, and Dave Dickinson is communicating with Henry Burris.
Dion Murphy checks in as Rob Cote goes to the bench.
Mark Trestman in Montreal likes to call that zone replay the ride and decide.
Cornish remains in as the lone setback. Quick hitter, and that one disrupted and incomplete.
Was it Mike McCullough? Like McCullough from the linebacking court came off the edge.
McCullough, who gets in about 40 to 50% of the defensive plays, and that's 18 years of middle linebacker experience between 45 and Barron Simpson.
Nice timing as he's just coming off that edge and gets in the throwing lane rather than try and go all the way around the corner on Edwin Harrison, which would have taken too long and then been ineffective. Timed it up perfectly.
So Maver in as the drive stalls. Good numbers for the kid in his first CFL season, and from 21 yards out, R.J. Franklin had trouble getting it down, and Maver just got it through.
R.J. Franklin has some problems with this snap. It's a good snap, but he juggles it, and when he does, Rob Maver just carries through, and guess what? Kicks the ball and ouch, Franklin's left hand. I've been there as a holder. When those kickers start forward, they're coming. So you better get your hand out of there, and because of the delay, Maver said, I'll put your hand through the uprights too.
Yeah, that 21-yarder was an adventure, and as you've always told me, it's all about the hold. Riders started their own 35. Here comes the heat. Durant over the middle, and a little long for Wes Cates, who thought he was held up by Malik Jackson. No flag on the play. Our sack tally feature brought to you by Pure Later, tackling hunger across Canada. A lot of heat on the quarterbacks, but neither team has added to their sack totals tonight yet.
No, and I watched that first half from Winnipeg and Edmonton, and boy, did they get off to a good start defensively. Winnipeg Blue Bombers, big pressure. Ricky Ray.
Bolton Hopkins with a touchdown and a sack in the first 10 minutes of the game. Second and 10. And Durant almost had that picked off. Tight coverage there by Juwan Simpson, the middle linebacker.
That's a couple of times in a row now that the linebackers for the Stampeders in 2 straight downs have been the guys in coverage. Malik Jackson here, number 11, has to take Wes Cates out of the backfield again, and Juwan Simpson just sits underneath that in route from Getzlaff and is in a perfect position to knock it down. We've seen an early knockdown from Simpson too in that first quarter.
So a pair of 2 and outs for the Roughriders in this second half. Eddie Johnson high and not too deep. Dion Murphy will be dragged down by Jarrell Freeman. 35-yard kick by the newcomer. On the ball, the NASCAR Sprint Cup action continues here on TSN. It's the All-State 400 live from the Brickyard. Coverage begins at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. So Henry Burris has a little momentum. He's got good field position. And a 7-point lead with 5:10 to go here in the third quarter. Clears it out to PK Sam. Cuts inside of LaRon Mitchell. PK Sam missed most of training camp with illness and an injury, and just starting to find some chemistry in this Calgary offense.
And he wants to find it quick with Kenyon Rambo on his way back to the lineup probably next week. But he just ends up over there by the center field stripe. Nice move to stay inbounds on the sideline, pick up another 7.
16 and a first down. Here's Joffrey Reynolds, and Barron Simpson waiting for him. I think Barron was salivating, just waiting for 21 to get back in the offense.
In 53 games in the last 4 years, Barron Simpson has averaged just shy of 7 tackles in every single one of them. I mentioned the turf toe early in the week. He said he practiced a couple days ago, and he said he felt no pain running around. And boy, there has been some massive collisions between he and Joffrey Reynolds, or he and John Cornish here tonight.
Limited that carry to 3 yards, 2nd and 7. Short drop, Burris looking deep, looking for Bryant, and just overthrowing him. Right ahead of step as he continues to work on LaRon Mitchell.
The one thing that you can count on, I believe, with Henry Burris since those 2 early interceptions is that if he's going to miss, he's going to miss long. He in those first 2 interceptions thought that he'd throw it up and let his receiver try and make the play. Well, he didn't get those plays he wanted. And I'm not blaming the receivers, because the second one was certainly on Burris for sure. But the bottom line being that if he misses now, he's going to miss long.
I think we learned at halftime is if you're a receiver, it was the quarterback's fault. If you're a quarterback, it was the receiver's fault.
Yeah. But then again, in climate discussion.
Yeah, that was good. Burt Dale's looking for the corner again. Oh, how about Burt Dale's done it again? Burt Dale's puts this one out at the 7. On the stat sheets, it's the 37-yarder, but it's a reason to celebrate for the Stamps.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he has been bang on a couple of pressure situations. And again, throw the average right out. That doesn't really make as big a difference as plays like this. If that goes in the end zone, good field position for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He gets a little draw weight on that, brings it back. Another great kick.
That's that shit I'm talking about.
And an important drive now for Darian Durant.
Another long field. Home crowd making some noise. There's Getzlaff, and he's cut down. Keon Raymond with the tackle, limiting the gain. And for Chris Getzlaff, it probably no more than 3.
Keon Raymond's going to be the adjuster, the cover man. Although we've seen Malik Jackson have to get out in coverage, but he's the converted defensive back that will pick up receivers, and often will be Getzlaff because he's the 5th guy on the inside.
Last year early, the linebackers were Shannon James, Dwayne Carpenter, and Tim Johnson. Now it's Malik Jackson, Juwan Simpson, and Keon Raymond.
Here they come.
2nd and long. Durant steps up. Clay Brooks takes him down, but he would be close to a first down. May have been a yard short.
10.3-yard rushing average for Darian Durant coming in. He picks his moments, but boy, is he tough to bring down because blitz was coming off the edge. Eric Fraser, playing for Wes Lysak at safety, came in and he ran into the arms of Charleston Hughes, who couldn't bring him down. He's just got tremendous lower body strength, and that's a big, big play.
And it is a first down. That's an important first down for the Roughriders. 3rd carry, 19 yards for Durant. Only Buck Pierce has rushed for more yards at the quarterback position so far this year. And off to Cates. Short gain for Wes Cates as he's hauled down by Charleston Hughes. Have seen a couple of big plays from Saskatchewan tonight, but not with the frequency of the first 3 weeks. Second and 8. pressure. And they get to Durant, Juwan Simpson, and Charleston Hughes. And the former captain of the Alabama Crimson Tide defense pumped up and making big plays for the Stampeders.
Andy Fantuz thought about blocking him, but then he had to get out in his route. And he ended up not getting out in time and not blocking him. He ran right by Dan Goodspeed.
The loss of 9, 3rd and 17. Johnson from his end zone will concede the safety. So in the final minute of this third quarter, it is now a 2-score lead for the Stamps.
Made a couple of plays tonight. Juwan Simpson, 2 knockdowns, 1 in the first quarter, 1 a couple series ago, and that big play coming on the blitz. And it looked like there was a little hesitation from Andy Fantuz whether or not he was supposed to block him or become a hot receiver for Darian Durant. By the time they thought about it for a split second, that's the split second Simpson needed.
Well, if this was a boxing match, you'd score the first round in favor of Calgary, second to Saskatchewan, and the third round has been in the Stamps' favor here. They now lead by 9. Remember, the Roughriders with a 3-0 record have come back in the fourth quarter twice to win games so far this season.
Oh, no question. This is a team, and we're after their last win versus the Edmonton Eskimos, which was a close 24-20 win for Saskatchewan. Matt Dunnigan talking about it at that time, saying that this is a team that has learned how to finish games. Now, you don't want to make a habit of coming back from big deficits, but they won't go away, you know that.
When Eddie Johnson got the call to go to Regina, he was playing beach volleyball. I don't think the games were quite as intense as on the beaches. Ed McMahon here tonight. There's Murphy, and this time Jerome Freeman will bring him down and limit the return yardage. Calgary will start at the 36, and Chris Jones has to like what he's seen tonight.
Yeah, third year as a defensive coordinator in Calgary. He's got some big-time pressure. In the first half alone, the Calgary Stampeders, Tom Johnson led the way. 8 hits on Darian Durant, and those weren't just kisses. Those were massive hits that hurt. And 4 pressures, and then a big play there by Juwan Simpson.
I'm not sure we've seen Darian Durant get punished like this in quite some time.
No, not this year, certainly.
Burris steps up, takes off, Hawkins in pursuit, and Henry Burris went wide and will take a hit. Not sure why he did that. There are flags down in the Saskatchewan secondary.
Yeah, Omar Morgan is going to get a penalty for taking a swing at Nick Lewis. They were battling in the middle when Henry Burris took off. Omar Morgan didn't even see the quarterback run. So there's going to be some yardage tacked on here.
Looked like Burris invited that hit when he could have stepped out. But he is pumped up right now.
Yeah, he is. He came back out in this third quarter. Wanted to make some bad memories go away.
16 seconds on the clock, and if this is indeed tacked on against Saskatchewan, the Stampeders are poised to make sure if the Roughriders are coming back tonight, it's from a long way down.
During the play, offsetting unnecessary roughness, Calgary, number 82, Saskatchewan, number 1. Ball was held at the 50-yard line. It'll be first down.
You know, I'm never opposed to this kind of thing when 2 players are fighting. But when Omar Morgan threw the third punch is when the flag came out. There was the hit. Morgan didn't like it, so he pushes there, push there, they'll push back and forth, and then it was that one was when the flag came out.
So it's at the 50. Burris steps up, and Luke Mulliner will drag him down.
But I'm never opposed to that. If you get, it's like the little pushing and shoving in the front of the net of hockey. You got to let some of that, let the guys fight it out. Offsetting, no big deal.
There are some Stamp fans that are saying, what did Lewis do to get the penalty?
He gave him a little push underneath, and into the stomach area. It wasn't as violent as Omar Morgan, but the only reason I put it on Morgan initially was because that big haymaker swing to the head was when the flag came out.
Mullender stops Burris after a 1-yard gain. 2nd and 9. Burris over the middle, and that one incomplete. Almost the 3rd interception of the night for James Patrick. Almost Patrick. But we're through 3 quarters, and it's a 9-point Stamp lead. 3rd quarter stats brought to you by Tim Hortons, proud sponsor of the CFL.
So if you just covered up the score and looked at the numbers, you'd basically say it was tied. Now, a couple of turnovers for Calgary in the first half. Almost one more for Henry Burris there. He's going to have nightmares of number 14 wearing the Saskatchewan Roughrider jersey in James Patrick.
Stamp's a better team in the 3rd quarter, holding Saskatchewan to 62 yards of offense. We've seen them come back in the 4th quarter, but it feels like Calgary's got all the momentum.
Well, you can see the difference in the demeanor of Henry Burris. I mean, he's come out and played aggressively in this 3rd quarter, but having said that, this Saskatchewan football team are finishers. And they come back and they continue to battle till the very last whistle. And we'll get the ball back to start this 4th quarter.
Dorsey back, and so is Weston Dressler as Dales looks for another kick inside the 20. There'll be a return here. Dorsey. And Dorsey with a decent comeback across the 20. Skips out at the 21.
There you go. And there's the number that really tells the story about this football team, that the Riders have outscored their opponents 32-7 in the 4th quarter this season. And how many times has Ken Miller talked about the resilience of his football team? Now they just will not quit, will not give up.
And the only touchdown there against was a late bomb to G. Roy Simon in garbage time at Empire. Handoff, and Durant somehow fights to get it back with Robert McCune right there, and I'm not sure how McCune didn't come up with the ball.
Well, I don't think he knew it was there, because that's the only reason. It was sitting right beside him, and Robert McCune is in the stand-up position, and you can see that he gets good pressure. He's up in the backfield. Good reaction there from the running back. Oh, he did see it. It just went between his legs, but I thought it was sitting right there on the turf. Thought maybe he missed it.
What a missed opportunity that would have been. Oh, boy. Close to a turnover inside the 20. They lose yards. Here comes the heat again. Durant lets it fly for fair twos, and it's hit. No, incomplete. Or is it? Milton Collins has it. Looked like the initial call was incomplete, but it's an interception for Milt Collins.
And Juwan Simpson helps the play by gaining containment on Darian Durant, not letting him outside. And then at the other end, Milton Collins is going to run this down, have confidence in his ability, and he dives for this. Now, did he hang on to the football? Or does he use the turf to pin it into his hands?
The offense for Calgary came on the field. Clearly the ball comes loose.
I don't think he caught that.
And doesn't look like we're even going to get a challenge now.
No, I think they waved it off.
Yep, Calgary's offense came right onto the field, but as you can see, it was incomplete. Eddie Johnson. Murphy at his 45. And taken down after a 5-yard return. 13-13 left.
And there's been changes up front for Calgary.
Definitely a revamped offensive line. John Cornish back in, testing the right side and finding some room. And busting away. Open road, John Cornish just tripped up. John Cornish gets the home side, something to cheer about with a big 50-yard rump.
Well, this is that type of formation. You see the stacked formation there from the Saskatchewan defense to the right, and the Calgary Stampeders going to attack it. They get Nick Lewis up there to get a block, and they try and just make sure they cut off that edge. And Sean Lucas, they get that, and this is what happens with this kind of defense. Yes, it can be confusing and it can be dominating at times, but it's also susceptible to the big play.
Touchdown saving tackle by Ted Cornegay. Quick hitter into the hands of Bryant. Breaks 2 tackles. Touchdown! Robbie Bryant has his second touchdown of the second half.
Well, it's a trickle-down effect, and it starts with the quarterback. If he's struggling, if he's hesitant, if it's not working, it trickles down to the rest of the team. They don't play quite as aggressively. Henry Burris came out with more fire, and his team has responded around him.
And a tough second half for Omar Morgan, who had a shot that Bryant had bounced off him. Extra point is through, and it's a 16-point Stamp lead.
Big play here. There's Cornish, and he's going to come around the end, and ironically, in such a good game, the safety for Saskatchewan, James Patrick, has played so well tonight, but it's Patrick's tackle or missed tackle right here, where he doesn't get his head quite around and tries to just knock Cornish over rather than wrap him up, and when he misses that one, Cornish is off to the races. That set up the touchdown.
Hugh Charles is tripped up, but good defensive play there by Keon Raymond on the cover team. Everything going right for the Stampeders right now.
And tackling an issue on the touchdown play as well, as Robbie Bryant gets in the end zone because of a very similar situation. There's Robbie Bryant. Now watch Omar Morgan's tackle here. Robbie Bryant comes out. Pretty simple play, little inside hitch now. Wrapping up and hanging on. You can see Morgan left his feet, didn't wrap up long enough. Robbie Bryant breaks that tackle and scores.
2 touchdowns and 2 converts behind now. 2 two-point converts. For Durant, looks deep for Getzlaw, picked off, and there's Keon Raymond. Keon Raymond with the interception, and he's brought down at the Roughrider 40.
Well, I'm going to start lobbying. You mentioned it. It's one of the players of the week this week, maybe a defensive player and maybe someone from one of these secondaries. James Patrick's had a good game despite one missed tackle, and we've seen a couple of big plays from this Calgary defense. I think Juwan Simpson has played excellent in this football game. Keon Raymond with a nice play and timing there. Milton Collins, talked about him right out of the gate and how he would play these halfbacks. He's played well. Chris Jones has his defense fired.
Raymond was the super sub last year. He backed up at corner, linebacker, and defensive halfback. He's the starting Sam linebacker this year. And now Joffrey Reynolds. And James Patrick will bring Reynolds down inside the 20. It's a 21-yarder for number 21.
What a cutback by Joffrey Reynolds here. We've seen the matchup between he and Barron Simpson as they go head-to-head. But watch how he cuts back against the flow on Barron Simpson. He's going to take that step to the right. Barron Simpson slides that far to the hole to the outside, and a cutback for Reynolds.
Looking for the dagger here with just over 10 minutes to go. There's that zone read. Nick Lewis a catch. And Lewis down inside the 10 has another Stampeder first down.
I talked to John Hufnagel about the importance of this game, and he said yes, with the rivalry always we talk about the Saskatchewan-Calgary matchup. He said, you know, I haven't really mentioned it to my team, and I'm not sure that I will before the game because I don't want to put too much pressure on them. But we have to go back to Mosaic when we play this team later in the year. Both games coming up after this one are on the road against these two teams.
Winless in 4 last year. Trying to put this one away. touchdown. And we've had plenty of those fireworks here in the second half.
Remember, we go back to that second quarter, and we saw John Cornish come in the game, and how a fresh Joffrey Reynolds in the fourth quarter could be a difference maker for Calgary. Those are fresh legs, folks.
Well, he had a big 21-yard run early in that scoring drive, and Rob Maber's extra point gives the Calgary Stampeders a convincing 23-point lead. What a 1-2 punch tonight.
Joffrey Reynolds, 12 carries, 70 yards. John Cornish, 4 carries, 75 yards. The difference tonight is a fresh Joffrey Reynolds looks fresh in that last series with a couple of big runs, including the touchdown run, and Cornish is the reason for that, because he spelled him throughout the game.
Dominic Dorsey follows the blocking across the 35 and then gets nailed by hammer Robert McCune.
It's a defense that can be dominant, but if you catch them in some of those different looks, you can make some big plays, and Joffrey got a big one. Wide and decide, and then here's the touchdown, and that shows his power. When you combine Burris' 36 yards rushing in this game, Chris, 20 as a team carries for 183 yards rushing for the Calgary Stampeders.
Which is almost exactly double what the Roughriders have been giving up on the ground per game in the first 3 weeks. Flag down, play doesn't get off. The Edmonton Eskimos, I think, everybody's shocked that they're the only winless team in the Canadian Football League, and it looks like...
Count violation. Saskatchewan, number 4. 5-yard penalty remains, first down.
It looks like the last of the unbeaten will fall from the ranks here at McMahon.
Well, there is time, and we know that the Saskatchewan Roughriders will not quit, but this is going to give this defensive line and Tom Johnson a chance to just pin their ears back now, because they know Darian Durant has to throw it.
First and 15, slant in, that one busted up, and there's Keon Raymond again. A guy that uses the Cuthbert Suter style of preparation. After practice, he goes home and naps, which is my approach.
Okay.
And then 6 hours of film study, which I know you used to do.
Well, you know, you can't watch enough film, especially in that secondary, because when you see it in your mind's eye, the split second before it happens, that's how you make those big plays, and he's made a couple of big ones.
Second and 15. Durant sets up, it looks deep, Getzlaf up in the air, and he brought it down. And Chris Getzlaf seems to save his best for the Stamps, and another terrific catch there. 38 yards.
Well, this is a large mountain to climb, but they've been there before. As Getzlaf runs the corner route on the same side as Fantus, and this time Keon Raymond in that trail position just can't cut underneath the big body.
Fourth catch of over 30 yards for Getzlaf. And being stuffed at the line. Brought down by Charleston Hughes. Haven't really seen Cates deployed as a receiver tonight. I think there was one incompletion that they tried to hook up with him, but a guy a couple of years ago, or last year, 33 catches. And
well, that's been in part due to Juwan Simpson and Malik Jackson covering him well out of the backfield.
Loss of one there, second and 11. 6 receivers out. Durant steps up, he'll take off. And is cut down short of the first down as Brandon Browner was able to upend him. Looks like 2 yards short of the first.
Yeah, and Brandon Browner is one of those corners that they don't try and tackle, he tries to hit. You know, Darian Durant with doing everything he can to try and get his team back in it.
6:44 to go. It's 3rd and 2, and
A little surprised.
are you surprised that the field goal unit's coming on?
Yeah, I am a little bit. You know, might not get many more opportunities. You want to try and take a run at it.
Team that needs 3 touchdowns is setting up for a 46-yard field goal.
Unless there's something on the team's plan here.
Taken away. And missing. And they'll give up 1 happily. And it's 33-11.
Of course, that compounds the decision.
I think that one will be talked about over coffee all next week. Let's check in at the Calgary sidelines with Jermaine Franklin.
Thanks, Chris. Well, Kenyon Rambo, there was the hope that he would be in this week. It is exactly the 1-year anniversary to the day when he had that season-ending knee injury in BC. Rambo did practice, a full practice, and looked impressive. However, the following days he felt soreness in his knee and decided he wasn't good to go. Rambo said he's not going to trick himself into coming back early. He doesn't want to risk further injury to threaten his career. And Coach Huffnagel also said that he will not play Rambo until he says he looks right in the eye and says that he's good to go. No excuses, no ifs, ands, or buts. He's 100% ready to go. They're not going to rush him.
Which is a good decision, and make sure you have him for the entire season and not just a game, and then it has problems again. And, you know, ultimately, John Huffnagel saying that the decision will be his. And, you know, the training staff has cleared him. He has been practicing, but it did cause him a little bit of pain. And he thought, nope, give it 1 more week. But Henry Burris will love to get his go-to guy back.
Once again, the hands of Joffrey Reynolds. 4th quarter time for him is when he usually pounds the defense, and getting close to 100 now. 14 carries, 89 yards, and 3 for 3 last year in 100-yard games in the regular season against the Roughriders.
Well, and the Calgary Stampeders as a team are pushing that 200 rushing yard mark now. They had 128, or just about 129, which was ranked 3rd in the league coming into this game tonight. They bettered that.
Drew Tate on for the option, the quarterback option, and the former Roughriders still going down the sidelines and forced out at the 12-yard line. A guy who spent 2 years on the Roughrider practice roster gets a big play against his old team.
I asked Henry Burris when I was discussing Darian Durant with Burris, and he said, you know, there are a couple of quarterbacks, Glenn, that I really believe are going to be future stars. One has already established that. He will be in Darian Durant. And the other guy he mentioned was Drew Tate. He said, Drew Tate is a star quarterback in waiting.
We see the potential in Travis Lulay, so there's some future guys out there.
He was the other one.
Reynolds right side. Sean Lucas holding on, and Keith Shulligan helps him out.
Great mutual respect, of course. This time last year, Henry Burris had text messaged Darian Durant, told him to stick with it. He was up and down a little bit at the beginning of last year, and he did. And he's going to be one of those stars. We've seen that. He also mentioned Travis Lulay, and then the other guy was Drew Tate. He said, those are the quarterbacks of the future in this league. I just have a ton of respect for him, and he thinks Drew Tate is a real keeper.
This Rough Rider defense hasn't had an answer in the second half. Quick hitter, Nick Lewis, touchdown. Nick Lewis has been waiting to celebrate. And he has his 3rd touchdown in as many games.
No safety back in behind. He was up in the line in coverage and man-to-man, and James Patrick on Nick Lewis. And Nick Lewis, tough to bring down in that situation, and it's fun to get in the end zone.
Just once last year, already 3 this season, and it's a stampede here in Calgary now.
Look at this nice inside move. See how he leans to the outside just to freeze the defensive back for a split second, knowing the entire time he's trying to get that middle. That was okay. Not sure about that one, but here's a nice throw and catch. And you know, the demeanor of Henry Burris coming out in that third quarter and how he came out with fire in his belly. Ignited this offense. They got the run going.
Nick Lewis, third all-time now in catches by Calgary Stampeder. He's over 7,000 yards in his career with 50 yards tonight.
Man. Oh, wow.
And the latest in what has been a 33-4 second half in favor of the Stamps. Dorsey up across the 40-yard line. And it's been a while since the Saskatchewan Roughriders have been beaten up like this.
It's been a while since he's been hit like he's been hit tonight, and Darian Durant. And that's Chris Jones putting together a group of defensive players here in Calgary that only had 2 returning veterans from their 08 championship year. And it just seems like every single season Chris Jones runs the defense, he's got a whole bunch of new personnel, new faces, and somehow he keeps them battling.
Durant stays in. Pass complete to Dressler. The 3-minute warning given to the benches. All Calgary here, second half. Our game story is brought to you by Mr. Lube.
Tale of 2 halves for Henry Burris. 2 interceptions in the first half. Comes back 4 touchdown passes. Remember, he's coming off a week where he threw 4 interceptions in Toronto. James Patrick, a real good game defensively for Saskatchewan, a couple picks. But that Calgary defense has played well in itself.
Wes Kate straight ahead, good run into Calgary territory. The 51. Are you surprised that with 2:35 to go, Darian Durant still in?
Yes, I am. I'm very surprised that on 2 things. One, the 3rd and 2 with 6.5 minutes to go. Saskatchewan elected to go for a field goal there and missed it, but also to leave your starter in at this point. So a little surprised with that decision as well.
11 for Cates and a first down. Durant looking deep, wants Fantus, and Milton Collins has got the football. This time, he does have the interception. Late flag.
Objectionable conduct. Calgary, number 14. After the play, the penalty's half the distance to the goal line. First down.
So Collins gets flagged for taking the helmet off in the celebration, but there's the 3rd interception of the night.
Yeah, and composure from Milton Collins at the end of that play, at the top end of that route. He got kind of turned around there, but stuck with it. Finally got his body in the right position. The ball lands right in his hands. Darian Durant, who had been avoiding the interception in the first 3 weeks, just one coming in, had 3 here tonight.
After the penalty, they start at the 6. And swinging it to Johnny Forzani. Catch across the 10. Well, when the Roughriders fall for the first time, they fall hard. Last year, 2-0 until they played host to Montreal in week 3 and lost 43-10. And tonight, they are having their first loss handed to them in convincing fashion. Under 2 minutes to go. Tate, and that's off the fingertips of Murphy. The pass behind him incomplete.
Ken Miller's defense has been described throughout, or the defense for the Riders has been described throughout the league, and I'm quoting players across the league, offensive players who played it, said it's a high-risk, high-reward type of deal where they'll show you different, so get up there, things you don't normally see, and sometimes it can look very, very dominant, but boy, others, it can give up some yards, and it was the run game for Calgary, especially in the second half, close to 200 yards rushing as a team, and some big, big plays. That one to Robbie Bryant. The Saskatchewan defense coming in after 3 weeks had given up 1 touchdown pass for tonight.
And Burke Dales, who's had a big night, is going to tick off a few seconds and concede 2. And it's 40-13.
Calgary Stampeders struggling in that first quarter with interceptions, came back with a vengeance in the second half, and this opened up the third quarter. Long play to Robbie Bryant, who got another one as he fought off a couple of tackles. Joffrey Reynolds had a big run to get them down to that point, and then got in the end zone, and there's another touchdown pass to Nick Lewis. So as I mentioned, the Riders defense giving up just 1 in 3 games coming in. Give up 4 touchdown passes tonight. Joffrey Reynolds, a big night. Second half numbers for Henry Burris is the reason for the smile.
We saw some frustration and concern in the first half, but the bounce back second half for Burris. Is this the psychological hurdle this team's gotten over? It looked like Saskatchewan had their number.
You have to believe that, and John Huffnagel will have to believe that. That's rare too, to see him smile. And you know, and he mentioned it to me, and I'll repeat it. They go to Mosaic. They only played 3 times this year. They go to Mosaic Stadium twice. Last year it was the opposite. 2 games in McMahon, they lost both of those, or excuse me, tied 1 and lost 1.
And remember last year they finished tied for first at 10-7-1.
Right.
Roughriders got the tiebreaker. They're winning the series. Dorsey tripped up around the 50 untouched, so he squirms across midfield. That's 92 seconds left, and apparently Darian Durant's going all the way tonight.
Now you go from a surprise to just, I don't like this decision at all. I mean, 1 awkward turn, and maybe you're just going to run the football and get this game kind of in the books, but 1 awkward turn or twist here from Darian Durant. It's a long season.
Back inside the 50, first down. Durant gets it away. Drop bag, a catch. Try to get past Anderson and brought down at the 40, and there's a flag on the play near the end of that play.
I was in the press box earlier talking to some of the members of the media and watching Edmonton after they scored in the Winnipeg game earlier tonight, and looked like they were trying to make a little push. Said, you know, there's really...
Illegal block. Saskatchewan, number 89. Penalty was after the yards were gained. It's a 10-yard penalty and first down.
So there's really no lead in the CFL that is a safe lead. But in this case, I would think this is a safe lead with 1:23 to go, and your starting quarterback in the game would be a concern for me. You think about just the what if in a game that doesn't look like you're going to win. Now, if he's thinking about points for and against, that could be part of
it. 3-game series this year, so only a tie would
force that, but it did last year.
It did. But do you risk your quarterback's health for the potential of a tie game?
I say absolutely not.
Violation. Saskatchewan, number 4. Penalty is loss of down. It's second down.
I say absolutely not. And not to mention Tom Johnson, the way he's played tonight. He has really devoured the inside of that line. We talked about it.
The last time I remember Darian Durant getting hit as hard as tonight was when he did suffer an injury against the Toronto Argonauts a couple of years ago. He only send the blitz. Durant gets it away for Dressler. And is he in? Yes, they're ruling a catch at the 26. 24-yarder for Weston Dressler.
1 foot inbounds. He actually got both.
8th catch of the night for Dressler, 99 yards. Durant over 300, but 3 interceptions in the game. And looking into the end zone. And it's a touchdown. Weston Dressler lost the helmet, but hung on to the football.
Dressler on this play is not going to give away that the ball's about to arrive. 2 pinpoint perfect passes from Darian Durant. Gets set up over the top, and look at Dressler. Pumps his arms, keeps pumping his arms, so he doesn't give it away to Brandon Smith that the ball's about to come in there. And flashes at the last second.
Pass on the money. Dressler's 2nd touchdown of the season, and his 2nd 9-catch game, 2nd 100-yard plus game. Extra point from Podgy, 67 seconds left. 40-20.
Adds the stats a little bit. And in games like this, even if you're on the wrong end of games like this, you want to keep playing hard if you're out there, because if you let up at all is when you get injured. And we saw that effort from Weston Dressler. But boy, risky with the starting quarterback.
Well, a reminder, Sunday Night Baseball continues this week on TSN2. The St. Louis Cardinals and the Chicago Cubs. Live coverage begins exclusively on TSN2 at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. So the Roughriders will drop to 3-1. They will host the Hamilton Tiger Cats next week. Both teams play next Saturday. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, impressive winners today, will meet the Stampeders here in Calgary. So the winners of the doubleheader tonight will clash next Saturday. Paul LaPolice and his crew moving to 2-2. Short kick. Hands team out, and I don't think play had been whistled in.
You know,
timeout.
I'm just gonna take a stab at this here. Calgary called a timeout. I'm just gonna take a stab at this here. The Saskatchewan Roughriders this season have shown that characteristic, that resilience, and that fight to the bitter end characteristic that you know, so many people in Saskatchewan have been so proud of with this team, watching them come from behind. And I'm just spitballing, but Ken Miller saying, you know, even in games like this, we're not going to change that mentality. We're not going to change that approach, even though we're not coming back to win this game. I'm leaving my quarterback in. I'm trying the onside kick.
I'm with you on all of that if they'd gone 3rd and 2 from inside the Calgary 40 with 6.5 minutes to go.
And I would say that the idea is a good one, to keep that edge, to say, hey guys, we're going to keep playing hard no matter what it says on the scoreboard. The only exception I would make to that is with my starting quarterback. And I just think at 225, boy, we're rolling the dice with that guy.
Tate getting some time, and the handoff to John Cornish.
So how do you take a look at this Calgary Stampeder team now, who, you know, go on the road to start the season, win a game in Hamilton? It's been tough to win there, and then, boy, just don't look good at all against the Toronto. And I don't want to take anything away from Toronto's win last week.
Hey, they didn't look good against Hamilton and won.
Yeah, fumble.
Yeah, baby, that's what it is right there, baby. Stampeders all
This
day.
one is a tough one to read because the first half of this game was very different than the second.
I think there were a lot of questions about Calgary, even at 2-1. They've answered a lot of them tonight. And maybe reinforced that the team that beat them last week is better than anybody's given them credit for, the Toronto Argonauts.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, full credit for them. 3 wins in a row after a loss here in McMahon Stadium to start the season for them. But you know, John Huffnagel's got to be happy about a couple things. His quarterback bounced back. I think that's first and foremost. 4 interceptions a week ago, 2 in the first half, and it looked like the wheels were just off and going downhill in a hurry. But Henry Burris bounces back in the second half.
Timeout, Saskatchewan.
The other thing he's got to be real happy about is the return of Kenyon Ramble that Jermaine Franklin talked about on the sideline. That, you know, 1 more week is safe, and John Huffnagel gets a real superstar receiver back probably next week.
The only thing John Huffnagel was wrong about in assessing this game was that he thought it would go right down to the wire. Probably decided in the last couple minutes. They usually are.
Yeah, they usually are.
But not tonight. Dorsey dancing around, but not going anywhere. And we have 18 seconds remaining. And he is going to go from start to finish tonight.
Wow.
Likely to put it, well, let's not assume he's going to put a knee down.
No, and if they're trying the onside kick inside of a minute with a 20-point deficit,
and calling a timeout with 32 seconds to go, maybe they are going to air 1 more out.
And it would throw my theory right out of the gate if he kneels down twice here. So it's that theory of that they're going to just compete no matter what the scoreboard says. That would indicate that Darian Durant's going to drop back and throw. And he's in the shotgun. He could take a knee there, but no.
Hand it off to Cates. And Wes Cates will get a first down, get out. 12 seconds left. Juwan Simpson's been in the neighborhood all night long.
I'll tell you what, there's been 3 players. It's going to be tough to pick Defensive Player of the Week, and maybe these guys are just Players of the Week, and that's Juwan Simpson, one of them. Couple knockdowns, but he's been great in coverage out of the backfield. Come on some blitz. Tom Johnson up front and Keon Raymond. That's 3 for Calgary right there.
Hand it off again. Cates will pad his stats, and time runs out. John Huffnagel's team could not beat the Saskatchewan Roughriders in 2009, but in the first meeting of 2010, they win handily. 33 second half points to 13 for the Roughriders, and the finals 40-20 Calgary with a convincing win. There's a tie for first in the West at 3-1. SportsCenter's next.